No, that's Tony. He's fucking responsibility right there. That's massive. I think it adds an extra little, noise.
I can't believe it's finally happening. We booked this a year ago, and today's the day. We're off to Ireland.
It's sunny and beautiful, and we're all excited.
Patrick and I had always talked about taking the kids overseas before they graduated and moved out, and we always talked about Ireland and Italy mostly because that's, of course, where their heritage is. And I think it was actually more important for me for them to do that because I tend to have a fear of traveling and fear of flying and fear of being in situations where I'm not in control, if you can imagine that. So I didn't want my kids to have that fear. I wanted them to, feel free to go anywhere and to do anything because it's a big world and there's a lot to see, and I never wanted fear to hold them back.
We just got off the plane to Ireland and I'm pretty tired, but I'm excited for what's up ahead.
What time is it?
Like 5 in the morning, but it's like 12 at night back in our hometown.
Yeah.
Oh.
I just farted in my fourth country. Pretty proud.
Okay, so we arrived today in the Shannon Airport, and the first thing that happened is we had to go rent a car, and that was a really downer for me because we found out to rent a car in Ireland it costs $2,500, which 1,000 of it was the insurance. So as you can imagine, being a cheap person, that didn't go over well with me. So I put that behind myself, which was a big accomplishment for me.
The first thing that hit us when we landed in Ireland was how absolutely gorgeous the country is. Everywhere you look, there's a beautiful Kelly green field or a cliff or a beach or a mountain, and it really is incredibly stunning.
The cliff walk was kind of our centering during the trip. We would always get up in the morning and have our coffee and go on a cliff walk, or at the end of the evening we would have a cliff walk and talk about the day. That's it. We really went quite a bit, and it was just spectacular every time, and it was really kind of meditative.
The cliff walk was our first taste of how the Irish are a little more relaxed, I think is the right word, than we are. All I could say is if there was a path like this near us, there would basically be, barbed wire to make sure that you didn't fall off and kill yourself. I mean, there were fences up, but, the cliff is right there, and there's many spots where you take the wrong step, boom, you're gone. There was this beautiful spot that was our favorite bench. They have benches built into the side of the mountain. And that's where we would always end up and just sit there and watch the surfers and watch the waves come in, and it was our favorite little spot. It was such a luxury to have the beach right across the street from us, and the tides were quite amazing.
These tides probably travel 500 yards from high tide to low tide, and it was just amazing to see, everything that it covered and that it uncovered.
You'd see just a ton of kids down there with their buckets and their shovels and catching crabs and seeing the things that are in the tide pools. It kind of brought you back to your own childhood. The Torque waterfall itself was beautiful, but the coolest thing was you're looking at the waterfall and then you turn around and out of nowhere this stone staircase goes up into the mountain and you can't help it but climb it.
Cliffs of Moher.
The Cliffs of Moher was the only pre-planned must-see that we had, and I was panicking a little bit because I had heard and I had read that there are many spots on the cliffs where there's no fences, no nothing. You walk right up to the edge, and all I kept envisioning was my boys goofing around and doing something stupid, or a strong gust of wind taking Zane right off the mountain. So Patrick kind of Googled it out and found that there was a boat tour to see the cliffs, and we decided that'd be really cool. So we head down to the docks. We have a great time goofing around. We had about an hour to kill. Saw some dolphins and head out on the boat.
We started out on this boat trip knowing that it's a 1-hour cruise, and we left the harbor in good spirits and everybody clinging to their spot on the railing so that they got a good seat.
What we didn't count on were the 20-foot swells.
10 minutes in, we were seasick, and we had 50 minutes left to go. This bathroom, every time the bathroom door opened, it hit me in the rear end, and you could just hear people in these bathrooms puking their guts out.
So me and Zane headed for the inside cabin of the ship, and just as we were almost done, we saw a little kid puke on the deck, and that almost sent me and Zane overboard.
Well, the Cliffs of Moher, that's not something I was too happy about, but it's something I'm definitely going to remember.
Okay, anybody want to tell me about it?
That was awful. Oh my God.
Are you boat sick? Seasick?
Yeah, little bit.
How were the cliffs? Did you see them?
I saw him half the way. I looked at cliffs. The other half of the way, I laid down in a fetal position. Oh.
How was it for you, hon?
It's just like the glass bottom boat tour on our honeymoon.
20
years ago. It's our 20-year anniversary of the German Puke Fest.
Okay, too soon.
Oh, Zany.
White Zane. That's White Zany.
You were car sick on the way here. And all I got in the film is my game is sick.
It's White Puppy.
I saw a little boy puke, and that was almost it for me.
What'd you think of the cliffs?
They were tall. they were.
Oh, God. I'm not affected at all.
Let's see. Let me give you.
I'm not affected at all. I don't know how I managed not to be affected.
Tough guy.
I'm not really laughing at you.
I'm like shaking.
I'm laughing because it's this great, like, oh, let's take a boat, let's do it. It's so romantic and sweet. When that kid puked right in front of us, and I saw you
I had to run to the middle.
That was an awful idea.
We should be writing a strongly worded
And then-
opinion on the internet with that.
Then you come off and they're selling fish and sausages.
All you can eat fried.
They might as well be giving it away. Nobody's gonna buy it.
Oh my God! Classic. This is exactly the way Zane looks right now. Is how it feels. It's
Only
just
he's
so
whiter.
awful. Ugh. All right, we're gonna chalk that one up as an epic fail.
We saw some dolphins though.
You know what? We did see dolphins. That was the best part. But by the end,
They're
nobody
waiting for
cared.
the morsels from people.
I
puking
know.
off the edge.
They're waiting for pre-digested morsels. All right, epic fail.
That's it.
We had another interesting experience at a set of cliffs that we actually found right in our town, only about a mile away from our house. On the way from the parking lot to the cliffs, there was a field with this beautiful horse.
So we were all petting it and feeding it, and Zane decided he wanted to feed it, but he didn't want to open his hand. So the horse decided to go through the hand and almost took off his finger.
I look at Zane, he's pure white, tears are rolling down his face. We don't know what's going on. Finally, I figure it out. We just grab his hand and we end up having to rip it out of the horse's mouth.
Zane was crying because he just got bit by a horse, and everyone was kind of panicking a little bit, and I looked at the horse and I went, dick.
And there you go. Completely inappropriate and totally hysterical. And Patrick and I looked at each other and cracked up, and more important, Zane cracked up, and then we went and looked at the cliffs. There was a beach that you could see from the cliff walk that was way down the mountain, and every once in a while we would see people on it. We just assumed they were locals. They usually look like groups of kids. And we just couldn't figure out how they got down there. But then there was this spot that if you jumped the fence off the walk, you could barely see a path. So we said, what the hell? One day we jumped the fence and scaled on the side of the mountain and got down to the beach. And even the last little bit to get down to the beach was a rope that you had to rappel down to. But it was really cool. Felt like we were doing something bad.
The golf was fantastic. That was kind of Zane and I, that was our thing.
Oh, golfing was another thing that I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. It was beautiful views from every tee box. It was probably like the hardest golf course I've played in my life. Although the yardage is very short, if you get in the rough, you're done for.
We had a caddy. His name was Teddy. And Teddy treated us very well. He loved Zane. He called Zane Zila, and he called me Patla. And he was very impressed with Zane. And Zane kept saying, "Oh, I got another bogey." And he'd say, "Oh, there's nothing wrong with a bogey on this course, Zila." One day we were on the range and 3 helicopters flew in, and it was kind of neat. They have a helicopter pad right there. Just helicopters flying in and businessmen getting out. Okay, this is a par 3 course. Look at this. We teed off from up there, and now this is the green. See the green? Looks just like Ballybunion.
Oh, the par 3 course was like a mini version of Ballybunion Golf Course. It was really beautiful, but it was actually quite tricky, and I also beat Dad that day. I beat him by a good 10 strokes. We were going from the same tees too. It was awesome.
There was no way we could be on that beach and not have the boys take a surfing lesson.
Knew it was going to be speak to Tommy's soul to get out there in the surf, which it did. Zane did not want to surf. He's not a big water guy, and he just really didn't want to do it, and we kind of made him do it.
The surfing, it was fun. I wanted to try it. I tried it, and I wasn't great at it. I tried my best to stand up. I stood up a few times, and so did Zane. But, I mean, it was all around fun, and I had a good time.
It was something I didn't really want to do in the beginning. But after trying it, it wasn't as bad as I thought. And it was actually kind of fun the times you got up. But it wasn't too fun when you got a mouthful of seawater.
Yeah, after that big mouthful of seawater, Zane had decided he had enough, so he told his instructor he wasn't feeling well, and off he came. But we were really proud of him that he gave it a real try. And Tommy, he was a trooper. He stuck it out, and he got up quite a bit. Unfortunately, we didn't get it all on tape. And, in the end, I told him, no matter what, he looked fantastic in a wetsuit. The presence of historical landmarks in Ireland is similar to, I would imagine, all Europe is. It's odd to us because in this country, 200 years old is way old, and over there, 600 years old is barely scratching the surface. Unless it's BC, they don't think it's old. Historical structures are everywhere. Even our little cliff walk had the ruins of some kind of an old home on it. Listowel Castle was the first castle that we visited, and it gave us a great base for our castle knowledge.
A gung farmer is a person who cleans up the poop in the poop chute.
The people who lived in the castle slept sitting up. There was a lot of pneumonia and issues like that.
In the swirl staircase of a castle, they would have this misshapen step that if they were ever being chased up by enemies, the people from the castle would know it's coming, but the enemies won't, and that's why they call it a trip step. We saw one cemetery. It was out in the middle of nowhere, and it was like the prettiest cemetery I've ever seen.
And you would see a stone that was, oh my God, hundreds of years old, and then you would see a stone right next to it dated for somebody that passed in 2008. They don't have this lofty differentiation of their ancestors as opposed to their importance of their ancestors as opposed to the importance of people now. I think that lends to that real down-to-earth quality. Muckross Abbey was a specific day trip that we took. It was something in our little Ireland books that said it was haunted. They do a haunted tour there, but not during the day. It was such a gorgeous day. The abbey itself was so incredibly beautiful. Cemetery beautifully well kept, and again, when you're walking through the abbey, it's just so bizarre to think that you're walking through something that has been standing for close to, a millennium.
The doorways were smaller because the average person at that age was 5'5". It just stuff like that. You're walking up these stairs, and the stairs are worn so smooth. Over 500 years of people walking on these stones.
It's typical for me, being a Discovery Channel geek, to be taken by the history of the country, but I really think it took all of us, which was a great thing to see.
The castles were awesome. They were big, and they weren't at all monitored by anybody. There were no railings. It was all your own liability. You couldn't, if you fell, you fell. That's your fault, which I thought was kind of nice.
They're just not concerned with liability. My analysis is that nobody really has a ton of stuff. Everything in Ireland is a mom and pop, so you don't have these mega corporations or any of these kinds of things or the prevalence of them. So who are you going to sue? You know, you're gonna sue, you know, Mr. Murphy down the street who just owns this little bar. You're not going to get anything from him. So I don't think there's the worry that someone's going to see an injury as an opportunity to make their million.
And I like it how there were no like rules or caution marks. You could just go up into this castle and do whatever you want, and if you fell off the castle, it's your fault.
The trip yesterday to Dublin and
Not ready. Not ready yet.
ready?
No.
I still haven't drove yet. I think I'm a little scared of it, but I'm not going to tell Patrick that. This is a 2-lane road. And this is a turn on a 2-lane road.
Guess what happens if someone's coming the other way?
What happens if somebody comes the other way? You just have to back up and go into somebody's driveway. Stressed because Tommy did something with the phone that they gave us. They gave us a phone just to make some calls. They put limited minutes on it. Somehow Tommy set up all my personal information on it, my emails on it, my credit card numbers on it, it's the whole thing.
Arrow bars.
What are arrow bars?
They're like, well, in America we have Hershey Delights, but it's just like,
Not even the same.
it's not even close to the same. This is just awesome. There's little air bubbles in the middle of the chocolate. It just makes it so light and just so scrumdiddly.
No political correctness.
No, which
It's
is
out the
awesome.
window.
It's awesome.
It's great.
Now, this is our favorite piece, and we call it Jake Ford Jesus. And the reason we call it that is because Tommy has a friend, Jake Ford, and the eyes are exactly Jake Ford's eyes. So we call him Jake Ford Jesus. And we also ask him questions. Tommy, come here for a sec. I'll have Tommy demonstrate it for you because it's probably totally sacrilegious, but we keep doing it anyway.
Yes.
Okay, I want you to ask Jake Ford Jesus a question.
Jake for Jesus. Why did we take that boat tour? Just why?
I don't know. But there are some quirky things about the house. This is the one that drives me nuts the most. Is, okay, you have to kind of stand back and see it. So we've got a door to come into the kitchen, and you can see how the door falls naturally. Okay. So to get to the fridge, you have to pretty much either close the door or hold it with your body. And you got to open this cabinet, and there's the fridge. But the fridge opens the opposite way. So, you know, it would make sense if the door was on the other side, but, you know, no, we've got the you know, this can close. It's just frustrating. It's annoying. What else? I miss my dog. Isn't that terrible? Dumb dog. And here's Patrick's seat. She likes to sit here because then he just sits and gets this view of the ocean and hangs out.
And
nobody wears sunglasses. Nobody
we're
wears
the only ones in town
sunglasses.
wearing
I think
sunglasses.
you're good. This way. Not that way. You're good. Now this is better. You're on the wrong side of the road, hon.
Oh, that's right. This trip was great for me because it was an adventure. It was maybe the last time I could be with my immediate family in this capacity and just take an adventure with them. We didn't know what was going to be around the next corner or how we were going to get where or do what. We just got up every day and made a new path, and we did it, the four of us.
Going to Ireland with me and my family was just a great experience. I mean, it brought us all together closer because we just relaxed and we had a great time. We did what we wanted to do, not what we thought we had to do. I know I'm leaving next year and I'm not going to be able to see them as much, but it was just such a great experience to be with them and hang out with them, and just because I love them so much.
The trip really meant a lot to me. I mean, it was a great experience to have, and it might be my last vacation with my brother until he goes off to college. I actually like traveling a lot. I mean, I don't mind being in airports and being on planes. And it was my first stamp on my passport. Family means everything to me. I mean, they've given me everything and supported me throughout my life, and I love spending time with them.
Well, we did it, and I can't believe we did it. I guess if you keep waiting for the supposed right time, you'll never do anything, and we grabbed a moment. We grabbed a moment before it disappeared forever, and it's irreplaceable now. It's a memory we'll always have, and maybe the four of us will never be on a trip again like this together because we'll start to go our separate ways, but we'll always have Ireland. And in the end, love and family is what it's all about. goes, I miss my dog. Isn't that terrible? Dumb dog.